In this video, we will discuss the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea, CALREGs, which fall under the International Maritime Organization, IMO. The IMO consists of 69 international conventions, 68 of which are IMO conventions, and Malaysia has ratified 30 out of these 68. The remaining one convention is the ILO Convention, which Malaysia has also ratified. Therefore, Malaysia has ratified 31 out of 69 international convention as of November 11, 2025. The CALREGs were adopted on October 20, 1972 to update and replace the collision regulations of 1960. These regulations came into effect on July 15, 1977, and on that date, the CALREGs superseded and revoked the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea, 1960. Article 4 of the CALREG specifies that the convention will enter into force 12 months after at least 15 states, whose combined merchant fleets represent no less than 65% of the global fleet by number or tonnage of vessels of 100 gross tons and above, have become parties to the convention, whichever condition is met first. It's clear that the CALREGs met this requirement to be enforced on July 15, 1976, a year before they formally took effect on July 15, 1977. As of November 11, 2025, 164 states are parties to CALREGs, representing 98.49% of global shipping tonnage. Malaysia ratified the CALREGs with the ratification type of accession on December 23, 1980, and the regulations came into force in Malaysia on the same day. This is because Article 4 of the CALREG states that for countries that ratify, accept, approve, or accede after the convention has entered into force, the regulations will become effective on the date that the instrument of ratification is deposited, as specified in Article 2. Following Malaysia's ratification, from 1980 to 1984, the Port State Control Officer, PSCO, who inspects 4 vessels, and the Flag State Control Officer, FSCO, who inspects Malaysian vessels, could detain ships for non-compliance with the CALREGs. However, the Deputy Public Prosecutor did not have the authority to prosecute the offenders in Malaysian courts. In 1984, the Malaysian government enacted the Merchant Shipping Collision Regulations, Order 1984, which incorporated the CALREGs amendments of 1981 under Section 252, MSO 1952. This allowed the minister to make regulations for the prevention of collisions, referred to as the collision regulations. As a result, any master of a vessel who fails to comply with this order shall be liable for a fine not exceeding 10,000 ringgit for each offense under Section 252(3), MSO 1952. In 2000, Malaysia established the Merchant Shipping Collision Regulations, Amendment, Order 2000, which was gazetted under His Majesty's Government Gazette. Under this amendment, any master of a vessel who fails to comply with the CALREGs amendments of 1987, 1989, and 1993 will be prosecuted in Malaysian courts by the Deputy Public Prosecutor. However, masters of vessels who fail to comply with the CALREGs amendments of 2001, 2007, 2013, and 2017 would not be prosecuted until the Merchant Shipping Collision Regulations, Amendment, Order 2023 was gazetted under the Federal Government Gazette. The MSN November 2023 was issued to inform all relevant stakeholders of the need to comply with the Merchant Shipping Collision Regulations, Order 1984, the Merchant Shipping Collision Regulations, Amendment Order 2000, and the Merchant Shipping Collision Regulations, Amendment Order 2023. According to Section 81, MSO 1952, any owner of a ship who fails to comply with the MSN issued by the Malaysian Marine Department will be liable to a fine not exceeding 25,000 ringgit for each ship. What should be done if UM Boleh is involved in a maritime casualty? What is maritime casualty? According to Section 306I, MSO 1952, a maritime casualty refers to any event involving a ship where the vessel has been abandoned or is not in command, has suffered material damage that causes or is likely to cause a discharge, has become stranded, or has experienced an occurrence on board that results in the escape of oil or harmful substance, or that causes pollution to Malaysian waters, any Malaysian coast, or any Malaysian reef. When a maritime casualty occurs within Penang port limits, such as a collision between a Malaysian vessel and a foreign vessel, the Merchant Shipping Ordinance 1952 clearly outlines the procedure. Section 306J, MSO 1952, requires the master of a ship in Malaysian waters which experiences a maritime casualty to report such incident to the port officer, Regional Director of Marine Northern Region, within 24 hours where the ship is in a port limit, or to the Director of Marine where the ship is outside a port limit. Reports can be made in writing, by telex, or by radio, but verbal reports must be followed up with a written report. Failure to report can lead to a fine of up to 10,000 ringgit under Section 306J3, MSO 1952. At the same time, the vessel owner or any person can also report the incident to the nearby police station. The captain must fill out the KEM/LAUT-1 form, prescribed by the Director of Marine through MSN 27/2010, and submit it to the Port Officer, Regional Director of Marine Northern Region. According to Section 81, MSO 1952, the owner who fails to comply with the MSN will be liable to a fine not exceeding 25,000 ringgit for each ship in respect of which an offense is committed. Next, under Section 306JA, MSO 1952, where a maritime casualty has occurred, the Director of Marine may cause an investigation to be conducted by a Port Officer, Regional Director of Marine Northern Region, or an authorized officer to determine the nature and causes of the maritime casualty, or the damage which the ship has sustained, or the extent of damage caused to Malaysian waters, any Malaysian coast, or Malaysian reef. Before appointing the investigation officer, IO, a police report is required to be made. Investigators have full legal authority to board ships, collect evidence, and prepare reports. Investigation officers then prepare a preliminary investigation paper, PIP, and submit the PIP to the Director of Marine. The Director of Marine will discuss the PIP with the Minister. If further detailed investigation is required, the Director appoints a new investigation officer to prepare a comprehensive investigation paper, CIP. Then the investigation officer will submit it to the Director of Marine for reviewing. The Director of Marine will discuss with the Minister and then only decides whether to compound or prosecute the offenders in court. If the decision is to compound, then the Port Officer, Regional Director of Marine Northern Region, will be minuted by the Director of Marine to instruct the IO to meet the Deputy Public Prosecutor in Penang State. Once the Deputy Public Prosecutor has confirmed the offense is valid under the MSO 1952, then only he will minute to the Port Officer, Regional Director of Marine Northern Region. The Port Officer, Regional Director of Marine Northern Region, will prepare all the necessary minutes and documents to the Director of Marine. The Director of Marine will issue the compound to the offender to make payment within 30 days. If no payment is made, then only the Deputy Public Prosecutor will register this case to the court. Another scenario is if the Director of Marine would like to charge the offender to court, then the Director of Marine will minute to the Port Officer in Penang and meet the Deputy Public Prosecutor to register it to court. The Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, MMEA, also has independent investigation authority. The MMEA Director General may appoint IO to prepare the CIP. This report will be submitted to the MMEA Director General, and the MMEA Director General will discuss with the Minister. If they would like to proceed to compound, then the MMEA Director General will minute to the IO to meet their Deputy Public Prosecutor, which is located in MMEA itself, to verify the offense found. After verification, the Deputy Public Prosecutor of MMEA will minute to the Director of Marine to issue the compound to the offender. Another scenario is if the MMEA Director General would like to charge the offender to court, then the MMEA Director General will minute to the IO in Penang and meet the Deputy Public Prosecutor to register it to court after verification by the Deputy Public Prosecutor of MMEA. Through these procedures, the Malaysia Marine Department ensures that every vessel entering Penang port operates safely, protects the environment, and complies with all international maritime conventions. This system not only maintains Malaysia's reputation as a responsible maritime nation, but also ensures the safety of our seas and people. Collision is one of the most critical risks we need to avoid. Before taking any action to prevent a collision under Rule 8, it is essential to first determine whether a collision risk exists, as outlined in Rule 5. This ties directly to Rule 8, as you cannot take action to avoid a collision without first identifying the risk. Rule 5 states that every vessel shall at all times maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing, as well as by all available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions, so as to make a full appraisal of the situation and of the risk of collision. So, how should we maintain a proper lookout? According to Rules 7A and B, every vessel must use all available means appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions to determine if a risk of collision exists. If there is any doubt, such a risk shall be deemed to exist. Proper use must also be made of radar equipment, if fitted and operational, including long-range scanning to obtain early warning of the risk of collision, and radar plotting or equivalent systematic observation of detected objects. Now that we've gone through the steps to identify the risk of collision, we need to follow Rule 8 action to avoid collision.